Hello everyone and welcome to another video. I've gotten a lot of requests to make a video on how I make my larger than matte files. If you search larger than matte in YouTube, you'll see a lot of tutorials on how to slice large images into smaller sections that will fit your matte. And all of the tutorials I've seen are using the Design Space software, which I totally understand. It's a free software. But I do like using Adobe Illustrator, which isn't a free software. I pay about $10 a month, but I do believe there are free softwares out there that will have the same functionality as Illustrator. I just really like using Illustrator because, in my opinion, it's user-friendly and it's great to use on my iPad, and I can use my pen when I'm creating things. So I'm definitely getting my money's worth. So I'm going to work with a Bingo SVGs. At this point, all I've done is uploaded the SVG into Illustrator. I like to work off of the canvas, so I'm going to move the file over, and I'm going to start by ungrouping everything. I'm going through and ungrouping every color. And I'm going to start with a random height to work with. Bluey was 40 inches tall, so I'm going to make her 40 inches as well. Make sure that the lock is on because when I increase the height, I want the width to automatically increase. The biggest concern for me when I'm choosing a size for these characters is I don't want to make any cuts through the character's face. The least amount of cuts or lines through these colored layers, the better. Now I'm going to create a rectangle that is going to represent my Cricut mat. I'm going to remove the fill and only have the outline visible. I'm going to change the width to 11.49 inches. And I do this because the maximum width you can cut in Cricut is 11.5. And I've actually had some pieces that were right at 11.5 inches wide, and I still got an error in Design Space saying that the piece was too big. So I'm setting the width to 11.49, and that is my sure way of making sure I don't run into any errors. Then I'm going to change the height to 23.49 inches. Now at this point, I want to make sure all of my pieces are going to fit my mat. So I'm going to hover my mat over all of the pieces, and it looks like just about all of the pieces are going to fit, even the stomach piece here. But just looking at this piece here, I know this is not going to fit, no matter how I try to fit it into the rectangle. So I will have to cut this piece in half to make it fit the mat. So I'm going to try and find the best spot to make the cut. I like how the center of this piece is the thinnest spot. So I'm going to make the cut here. So I'm just going to line it up inside the rectangle. Now I'm going to select the rectangle and the section and hit divide all. And that is going to slice this section in half so it can fit the mat. I'm going to make another rectangle. I probably should have duplicated the one that I had before, but I'm going to work on the bottom layer, which is the black layer. So I'm going to move that to the side. So now I'm trying to find the best way to slice this layer into smaller pieces to fit my mat. So you'll see me adjusting multiple rectangles on top of this layer before I start slicing this layer. I decided if I slice this arm and make that into its own section, the rest of the body will be easier to work with. So I just created a small rectangle, lined it up over the spot I want to slice. Now select that same rectangle and the black layer and hit divide all. Now that I have the arm into its own section, I can cut the rest of the layer into 4 sections. So here I'm going to adjust my rectangles before I make the cut. I'm going to use the second rectangle from the top and select that and the layer and hit divide all. That's going to give me a section at the top, a section from the middle of the rectangle, and a section at the bottom of that rectangle. So now all I have left is to slice this last section. So I'm going to select this rectangle and the black section and hit divide all. Now I have all my pieces cut into sections that will fit my mat. I'm going to put all my pieces back together. And before I resize this, I like to group everything together. I'm going to decrease the size so it will fit on my canvas. And now I'm ready to export my SVG to be used in Design Space. To use the file in Design Space, I'm going to upload my file. And from here, I'm going to select the entire image and increase the height to 40 inches. Make sure that this lock is on so it will increase the width automatically when you increase the height. While I have this selected, I'm going to go ahead and ungroup. I like to look at the Layers tab to make sure there aren't any issues with any of the sections, and I'm going to hit Make It. I like to look through each mat preview to make sure there are no issues. And at this point, if you were going to make this project, you can go ahead and start cutting the sections out. I do want to point out that usually Design Space would not let me move forward with pieces that are wider than 11.5 inches. So I would have to rotate these pieces by 90 degrees. If you've seen other videos of mine, that's what we had to do with so many files, and I'm not sure why, but that's just a small step that we have to do to please Design Space. So if you run into any issues with this file, try rotating those wide pieces by 90 degrees. And that is how I make my larger than mat files. I hope everything made sense, and I hope that this video was helpful for you. Thank you so much for watching.